Good morning, everybody. My name is Will Anders. I'm the president of the chamber here. It's a pleasure to welcome you here to our space, and it's a pleasure to welcome Aaron, one of our board members, one of the top real estate guys here in New York, and I think you guys are going to give us a great workshop on the art of selling, how to do it, how not to do it, the common mistakes. So I know I'm looking forward to it. So it's always a pleasure to see new faces here at the chamber as well. So welcome if it's your first time. If not, welcome back. This is your house. Aaron,
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm very loud. Do I need the microphone?
For the
Oh, for the camera, okay. I'll try to speak a little bit quieter. Otherwise, I'm going to hurt your ears. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on this cold day. I really appreciate it. So just a couple things. I just want to share a couple trends that I'm seeing before we jump right in. Number one, there seems to be a lot of apprehension around what's going on in the world today, more so than I think over the last few years. Whether it's because of tariffs, the economy, whatever it is, we're starting to see a lot more demand for sales training. And I think what's really also interesting is just to talk about AI for 1 second. As someone who isn't traditionally very technologically savvy, I'm actually very excited to say that I've learned to truly embrace AI, and it's really revolutionized the way that I sell. And I say that because when I think about all of the ancillary tasks involved in building lists, research, all that sort of stuff is now gone. So for someone like me who's very passionate about prospecting, it's changed the game. But why do I say that? I think it creates a lot of fear. When I think about all those people that we've trained and known through the years who don't go through the process of really getting better at selling and rely on those sort of ancillary tasks, we're starting to see those jobs shift away. So what does that mean for all of us? And we were talking about this earlier. We all have to make that continued commitment to grow. And if you're not doing that, it's going to be very hard, in my view, to see a path forward. So those are just some 2 cents before we dive right in. Very quickly, my name is Aaron Schreier. I have been on the board of the Brazilian Chamber for many years and have been a part of the chamber for probably close to 20 now. I will say it is, I think, the best chamber that I've ever been a part of, and I've been a part of many. I am a part of many. I absolutely love it, so thank you for coming. My partner, that is Nick over there, so let's say hi to Nick, everyone. He and I took Sandler at different moments in our life. But what's so great about Sandler from both he and my perspective is we had a revolution happen internally when we took it. It really changed our lives, professionally, personally, and psychologically. So Nick and I, who've always been passionate about training and teaching, we started to build out our own little platform about a year and change ago. And we were banging our heads up against the wall thinking, this is really hard to do. And Nick said, Aaron, why don't we buy a Sandler business? I was like, Nick, why didn't we think of that sooner? So that's what we did. And it's been about 13 months now, and it has been a truly awesome journey. So anyone here familiar with Sandler? Good, great, oh good, we have some folks, wonderful. So Sandler, just very quickly, was founded 50 years ago by the gentleman David Sandler. And David, what he looked at sales as being is this sort of relationship between the prospect and the buyer that we're going to take a deep dive into, where it was a lot of subservience. There wasn't equal business stature that he noticed that was established between both the buyer and the prospect. And he thought that was sort of a broken way of doing things, even though that's how people have been selling for literally thousands of years. So he created this Sandler selling system, which is now the largest global corporate training platform out there, with 250 locations around the world, including in Brazil, I'm happy to say. So if anyone wants to think about Sandler in Portuguese, we can do that. But it's really, I think, a fantastic way to look at selling, because what it does is it gives you a system. It gives you a process, a methodology that you can stick to every step of the way as it relates to prospecting, to selling, to post-selling. So what we're going to talk about today is a lot of the challenges that we see, in particular when selling internationally. I know we obviously have an international group here. And we're going to look at the pitfalls associated with that traditional approach, and then introduce a different way. So this is going to be interactive. I'm not going to be standing up here for an hour. I'm probably going to have to speak a little bit quickly because you only have an hour, but there's going to be little breakouts, and I'm going to ask people to definitely participate as much as possible. Is that okay with everyone? Yeah. Wonderful. So let's get started. So this is really important, and we're going to teach some Sandler things as we go through this today. The upfront contract. So to me, this is one of the most important concepts to start thinking about if you ever get involved with Sandler. And it's really changed my life in so many ways. So upfront contract is basically this. If I have a meeting with a prospect, I'm going to set an agenda, and there's going to be a mutual understanding of how the meeting is going to flow, with potential outcomes that will be decided on before the meeting ends, whether or not it makes sense to move forward. So what does that look like for us today? No pressure and on time. 3 requests at the end. Here they are. This is our upfront contract, everybody. Ready? I want to hear maybe something that you learned today. Hopefully at least one piece of something you can take away. Yes, you'd like to learn more about what Sandler does. Or no, you know what? It sounds interesting, but it's not a fit for me. But this is also really important. You'll see the words next to fit. No maybes. Sandler believes that we have to take control of the selling process. And what that means is we have to be very comfortable with ideas that may not be yeses. So instead of following up endlessly, we want to hear no from a prospect if they're not interested in doing business with us. Let's get comfortable with that. It's not easy to do, but we'd rather know that sooner than later. Correct? Wonderful. All right, and then lastly, an introduction. If you think there's someone in your world who could benefit from a session like this, Nick and I love to do these presentations. These are free, because this is how we build relationships and get our name out there. So if you think your office or someone you know could be interested in something like this, keep us in mind. Fair? Wonderful. All right, let's jump in. So let's do this. We have let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do 3 groups, if that's okay. You guys can stay right here. Why don't you stay there? And if you 4 can come together, that'd be great. This is what is going to happen. We're going to spend about 10 minutes on this. You're going to see 12 different challenges up there. These are 12 that we see the most of in our world as Sandler. If there's one on here that you're sensing, you're feeling more that's not here, use that. But we want you to come up with your 3 top challenges as a group. And then after 10 minutes, we're going to debrief and talk about them. Okay? Any questions? Wonderful. You have our 3?
Recently, I managed.
All right.
So
I can't tell you how many times I've done this. And I ended too soon and people yell at me. What happens is it becomes like a therapy session. It's almost cathartic. You start being able to think deeply about not just the challenges you have, but your contemporaries at different companies. This stuff is happening to everyone. I don't care what you sell. So anyways, let's start here. Okay? We have to start somewhere. How did you all do? What did you land on for the top 3 challenges?
Mine was prospecting more efficiently.
Okay.
Structured. I guess price objections.
Okay.
And too much time free consulting.
Oh, that's a great one. Alan, there's one that you would say is your top? What would it be?
Prospecting more efficiently, because we don't have a lot of the tools that many of my competitors have.
Tell us more about that.
Well, there are programs that you can buy into that will give you those sales leads, and ownership doesn't pay into them.
Got it. So that's the top challenge for
Yeah, I
you.
mean, it's the whole idea behind knowing who is in your competitor. It's important, because then hopefully in the future you can figure out a way to bring them here. But if you don't have that information,
It's hard.
to do.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you for sharing. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. How about team over here? How did we do?
You always speak
All right, the spokesperson.
We're just one.
So the first one that was sort of universal was no structured process.
Okay.
It's very difficult to measure, understanding what's successful, what isn't.
Yes.
And then it sort of went from there into price objections and getting people to take action.
Got it.
So a little bit more of the negotiation, how do you compete against, again, a larger competitor with more resources than you? Staying true to your value proposition.
Got it. If there's one that the team could agree on, what would it be?
Process.
Yeah, I think so. The
Process.
The process, the structured process. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
For myself specifically, I
Yes.
work in a small startup,
Okay.
and there is no such a thing as processes, handbooks. Everyone is just like, do your best.
Do your
You
best.
got this. And sometimes you don't have two chances to make a first impression.
Yes.
And you get in front of the client, you think you did your best, and then you're like, if I had thought about this, if I, had maybe done my homework before, understood more about the client. I tried to go to LinkedIn before and read a little bit, so to see if I can connect
Sure.
at a different level. Have some things in common to, just to break the ice.
Sure.
But you can only do so much without handbooking processes.
It's a lot of trial by error
Exactly.
and learning from
Exactly,
mistakes,
yeah.
which can be daunting at times.
Absolutely, and you
Yeah.
can really lose like a good opportunity if you're not prepared.
100%.
Yeah.
Great, thanks for sharing. All right, you all had a lot of different, I think, top ones, right?
Yes.
Where do we land on sort of the top three?
The thing is, when we qualify, okay, because to do everything that they don't qualify, everything goes down.
100%. Qualify. It was qualifying effectively. Number one. What else? What else do we land on?
Getting in front of enough prospects.
Okay. Tell us more about that.
Just in terms of, I think you mentioned the sales leads. We use like Zoom Info,
Yeah.
and half the list is like do not call, you don't get an answer there, so like that can like go hand in hand with being more efficient in the sales process.
Got it. Great. And what about number three? Was there a third one?
Getting to multiple decisions.
Yeah. It's amazing. When I first started in sales 26 years ago, you could basically call a president of a company, and that's all you'd have to do. You'd have one person that you'd have to interact with, and you get a yes or no. Now it's so many different people, and depending on the complexity of what you're selling, it could be 5, 6, 7 people. So 100%, Carl. It's only made things more challenging, I think, for salespeople. Excellent. Good morning, by the way. Thanks for coming. No problem. Great. So I will say this. Nick and I do a lot of these different trainings, predominantly in the professional services world. We do products-based training, but I will tell you, speaking from the professional services world, hear all of the challenges you brought up. But I would say the number one challenge we've been hearing lately is too much free consulting. A lot of too much free consulting. And that goes back, good morning, that goes back to the foundation of Sandler, where the idea was that these salespeople just feel like they have to jump through hurdles to do anything they can to get the prospect to like them. And oftentimes, now because it's been going on for so long, the prospect takes advantage of salespeople, right? And they ask us to do these things with no commitment whatsoever. So, anyways, that's just something we see as one of the bigger challenges. So, I like hearing about the structured system, and obviously that's really important to us. I left the clicker over here, I apologize. So we're going to play a little game to demonstrate what that looks like. So everyone here, there are 100 numbers, and they're all over the place. It's a little bit hard to look at, but this is what we need to do. There's a 30-second challenge. So there's 100 numbers. What you need to do inside your head is count as high as you can from 1 to 100 sequentially. So you would go, here's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. I just gave away 4, so I kind of helped you out a lot. Go as high as you can, from 1 to 100 in order. Any questions on that? I'm going to give everyone 30 seconds. See how high you can get finding the numbers 1 through 100. Ready? Go. And stop. How do we do? 16. That's great. So up to 12.
I couldn't find the 12, but now I see it.
Also 12. What else? Anyone else? 11. 16. We got some overachievers here. How did we do over there? 9 is hard, right? What do we think about this? Was this fun to do? Was this easy? Right? So, when we talk about having a system in place and you don't have one, it can be challenging. So let's look at this through a different lens right now. So we're going to break this down and make this a lot more, I would say, enjoyable. So all of a sudden now, you can start to see that it goes in order. So 1's over here, 2's over here. Where's 3? 3 is over here, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 should be here. Right, so now you have an order, and I'm going to make it even easier and give you these quadrants. Right? So now we know that there is a process to this. So we're going to do the same thing one more time, 30 seconds. Now that we know there is an order, let's see how high we get, okay? Everyone's ready? Go. All right, how do we do this time? What do we get?
27.
23. 26. 18. 52? You got to. Whoa! You should be, I think you should be an engineer. Amazing. That's a record. Anyways, fantastic. So how is that for everybody? Easier. Right? So what we're trying to show you here is that if you don't own a system of your own, right? If you don't have a system, think back to the two examples we just did. If you don't have a system of your own, you're going to automatically default to the buyer system. Each and every time. Sure, there's going to be pockets of success. But my argument is that to have sustainable long-term success, we at Sandler believe you have to have a system. Okay? And now I'm going to give you an example and illustrate what it looks like when we default to that buyer system. So we call this the buyer-seller dance. And the best way to describe this, it's amazing how much I see this when people try to sell to me. So, but I'm going to give you an example of a friend of ours. Nitz and I have a friend. She's the chief technology officer of a Fortune 1000 company. And she knows we own a Sandler's franchise, and we have a lot of fun talking because she's constantly getting called by salespeople. But what she was doing was buying a CRM platform for her company. And it wasn't like $1 million commitment. It was a multiple seven-figure type of commitment. And this is the type of thing that you cannot do online, right? She could certainly get some base understanding about Salesforce, HubSpot, but there's a point in time where she needs to start meeting with salespeople to really understand how this thing's going to work. So the first thing that she did, right, she has this interest. There's something that she has to do to make the sales community aware of what she's thinking. So the first thing she does is she expresses interest, right? So the salespeople know that they have a live one. Great. So she starts to meet with these salespeople who have these CRM platforms, and what they do, they start asking her some very surface level questions and conduct their own needs analysis, right? They want to understand a little bit from her about what this could look like for her organization. So this is exciting for her. She loves this. She's getting all this attention. And don't forget, what's her goal here, everybody? Her goal is to get a lot of information. We talked about too much free consulting. Keep that in the back of your head. So what does she do with all these wonderful salespeople giving her sandwiches, making her feel so great? She's going to act a little excited about it. She's going to get motivated. She's excited. How do you think the salespeople feel? If she's excited, they're basically jumping out of their seats. They're so excited. So now that she's motivated, she's expressed interest, what's the time for the salesperson to do, everybody? What's the time for? Right, before we start closing, what might we do? Before we qualify, hold that thought. That's good, Carla. What else what the salespeople do at this point? Yes, and what's another word for that? Present or propose. Let's get those pitch decks together. And let's lock the room, throw away the key, and trap our prospect. But guess what? The prospect actually loved this. Why does she love this? Because what does she do with all these great proposals and presentations? This is what she wanted to do the whole time. She got them. She's obtaining information. Okay? So Alan, I'm going to go back to you. Okay? They presented or proposed. She has her information. Salesperson, and now it's time to do what?
Start closing.
Start closing. Attempt to close. All right, everybody. Congratulations to the salesperson. Their job is done. The sale's over. We'll say, So what do we do now? Right? Think about yourself. You just been pitched to. Now they're trying to close on you. What might happen? What might you want to do as the buyer?
Ask for time.
Okay. Another way to describe that? Excellent. Generally speaking,
Deflect.
deflect or avoid commitment. And how do buyers typically voice avoiding commitment? Big O word. Think O. They give you objections. Great. They give you objections. So the salesperson then has to do what? They have to handle them. Right? They have to handle them. So the salesperson thought they had this buyer at attempt to close, but our friend said no. Now they have to handle objections. So all of a sudden now we start to see this inflection point where this idea of control is shifting in a very scary way for the salesperson. So they handle objections, then what happens? What does the buyer do after that? Good. Well, I'm gonna give you a little secret here. I didn't tell you this at the outset, but our friend, she has a very, very cool hobby. She practices magic. She's a magician. So what do you think she does? Poof! She disappears! She disappears! So then, what does that leave us as the salesperson to do? What happens? What do we do when the prospect disappears? I'm going to say it's the dreaded F word, and it's not the four-letter one. What do you say? Follow up. Follow up. So I hope you take a lot away from today. But here's what I'd love to have you think about that you will no longer do ever again. Has anyone ever sent an email that says just following up to a prospect? I'm just following up. Anybody? I've done it a million times before I took Sandler. So if you've done it, don't feel bad. I'm going to encourage you to never say just following up again. Right? Think about what's happening here. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, I'm just following up. Do you think that email is going to win you the day? No. And there's a lot of reasons why it won't. Some of it we're going to touch on today. But a lot of it has to do with this idea of establishing equal business stature. When you say I'm just following up, that is from a place of subservience. The prospect, it's basically over. It's basically over. So before you say just following up, I want you to think about the purpose of that email. Is it to go over some pains that they express specifically that you wanted to address? Is there something super specific that you can say instead of just following up? So, now on, everyone's word, no just following up. Can I get that commitment from everybody? All right, thank you so much. So, what are we talking about here, everybody? I've said this a lot. It's about establishing and maintaining equal business stature. So, we're going to do a quick 6-minute breakout. Okay? And this is what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the following question. I want you to pretend you have $1 billion, not $1 million, $1 billion in your bank account. And I'm going to have someone from the group stand up and give me the answer that they want to give with that $1 billion in the bank account when I say the following to them. Why should I work with you? So think about what you might typically say, or what a salesperson might typically say, and now knowing you have all the money in the world, what you really want to say. But here's the kicker. You can't be a jerk. Okay? So I'm going to give you about 6 minutes. I want you all to put your heads together and come up with a nice answer to why I should work with you. Okay? Ready? 6 minutes.
Hi.
So you think about a response, right? So I'm challenging you. Why should I work with Bonnie? So I want you to think about a response. Okay, well you guys come up with a good response. What's a good response? You want you have $1 billion. You're the seller, and the prospect says to you, "Why should I work with you?"
When you
What about
really
you?
Have you ever had that before? So think about what you typically say and what you might say differently.
I trust our services and processes.
Yes.
I know what I'm selling to you. That confidence is like a little bit of a
Work together.
a little bit
Any
further than the
questions on
conversation,
that?
but it's not enough.
You have your answer? We'll share it with everyone.
I think that gives the show.
No, I'm sorry. You're the salesperson. In your bank account, you feel so confident because you have $1 billion. So the idea here is that, so why should I go to your hotel? Somebody normally comes in.
That is a good point. But I think also
Yes, you are the salesperson. You are the salesperson. And the buyer says to you, why should I work with you?
Like, we're good, you know our name out there.
The buyer says. So someone says to you, why should I book my rooms with through your hotel?
Okay, good. And then looking at the buyers.
No, you have to respond to that as a seller.
Point of Sandler is to stop.
It's your sales pitch, but it's a sales pitch that you're not worried about.
Exactly.
The establishing local business.
And tell me that how we
Because
can
this kind of but a lot of social settings that go as well is like,
I'm not sure.
especially with things like type stuff. That's like, I don't like that way. It does use this is like, where's your leverage? You know, what allows you to even
What I do.
have an even higher stature? I suppose questions as well. I job.
I appreciate you reaching out or telling me how to
Need here.
typically work with people that are
Will be able to address that, yeah, right? If you
The most personal.
The buyer saying to you, why they work
as one kind of just have to let that person go because
But you don't really care
otherwise
more
have
about
with
it.
their
So I would take them down like the pain
so
The buyer says to you,
they have real pain. Does it affect them emotionally?
yeah,
I'm not worried about it. You want to satisfy the client. And then
you know, this type of approach.
So it's like, so that's that way of doing it. I just did your kind of sales process. I just want to person or buyer and say, tell me how great you are. Give me a so it's helping you like
Again, where I work, they're like, we take it like sisters, we have a choice.
So with
Like a perspective, we take it, we take it as
sure we should work together.
I think maybe about every client to be your client. Instead of person,
like
maybe it's one of the things when you go on and they don't want to work with them.
So you would start with a 30-second commercial of like,
The same day your work, in this case, our work is to get them out. So we
give
have
you 30 seconds.
all of them.
So about an interruption to like, JD, where's you gonna come?
Yes, to this client, or we don't need the client to say yes,
Yeah, she went to the same college.
transition.
Oh, sure I do. Yeah, hey, we help companies like yours that are pressured to do these three things, and many of them an issue. Oh, yeah, that is an issue.
Starting to see like how many
Well, I should work with you, honestly, you should put some best back there.
you're like,
What about
I love what I'm hearing, by the way, if that's a hint.
It depends on what we consider prospecting, right? It depends on like how, like prospecting, well, maybe it's introductions from your network of people, right? So like, hey, I've worked with Nick in the past, and he helped me with this challenge. Didn't know if you were, had that problem as well. If so, great for you, Nick, right? Like you point out like where problem solved, and like this is a testimony. When you do like cold prospecting, and you're just connecting with
And people do like or not,
like
you
it's
know,
hard, right? So
All right, everybody,
a lot of times that connect button. So sometimes
this is the fun part. So, before we dive into this, because I'm going to have some folks do a little role play with us, what's happening here? Forget what we just thought about. When the buyer says to you, why should I work with you? Well, tell me, what's happening?
it's a challenge.
Who said that? Challenge. Go on.
Well, he'd call it a vibe check in today's language. It's basically, you get a temperature, you're putting the other person under pressure to see how they respond, more so than whatever their response is.
Excellent. Now let's take that to the next step. Not everyone in this room, of course, but what does a typical salesperson do when they say, why should I work with you? Yeah, that's summed up. It may sound a little bit different, right? It's because we do all this work in your space. We're the number one. Morgan Stanley guys were great, but they go into presentation mode, right? And anyone ever do the elevator pitch? Anyone ever have to do an elevator pitch? Right? What's the problem with good morning, by the way. What's the problem with an elevator pitch?
You have like 30 seconds to present.
Great. Now talk about the structure of the elevator pitch. What's the problem with it? Who's it all about? Me. Me. Does the buyer care? No. So think about your competition when the prospect says to you, why should I work with you? What do you think they're all doing?
They're saying the same thing.
Blah, 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 blah. I'm the greatest. All right, but now we know that that's not us. Because not only do we have $1 billion in the bank, we're now thinking a little bit differently about how we approach this. So I'm going to ask someone from each group to do a quick role play with me. Let's see how we did. Who from this team wants to come up and give me the answer they came up with when I say to you, why should I work with you? All right. Good morning. What's your name? I'm sorry. Elda, nice to meet you. So I got to ask you a question. Why should I work with you?
Well, you don't have to. But we're the best in the market, and you have the choice to work with us or not. But we know that we're going to offer the best service possible.
I mean, round of applause, please. That was amazing. I love that. I love that. And I'm the prospect. Even though I've done this 1,000 times, there's still part of me that says, wow, look at this person. Different than everyone else that I'm talking to. So, love that. Thank you. Next group. I need a spokesperson. Who's going to do it?
No, for you.
Okay,
Here, stand up. It's always easier. Okay.
Let me ask you a question. Why should I work with you?
because we're the best. We really deliver, and I'm confident on what I sell. I'm confident on my product. I know you're not going to regret. And if you're not satisfied, you can work around and give your money back or find another solution that works for the two of us.
Okay, so a different approach. That was a very much in-your-face approach. I like that. Super confident. If I can say one little concern, I get concerned that some of your competitors are going to say something like that. But I love the confidence, right? You feel like you have the money. Who cares if you get this business or not? Excellent. Okay, this team. Hey, Alan. I gotta ask you a question. Why should I work with you?
Well, we're going to solve all your needs. We're going to fix the problems that you've had in the past. We're going to be competitive. We're going to listen to some of the problems that you've not only had in the past, but we're going to be able to overcome the issues that you've had. And
Okay.
our quality is going to show forth better than what you've seen in the past. We're going to listen to your needs.
Okay, so a little bit more, thank you, excellent. So a little bit more around potentially the pain that I'm having and understand they've been there before and have solved those issues. Very good. Everyone's doing an amazing job. We have one more group I have to hear from.
Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Look, you want to stand up? It's sometimes a little bit better.
Oh, okay.
Right? Okay, so Larissa,
Yes,
good morning.
good morning.
Got a quick question though. Why should I work with you?
Why should I work with you?
Oh.
Okay, so we are looking for a firm that aligns with our purpose, and we're looking to know more about you and your goals to the future.
Wow! Round of applause. Round of applause for everybody. Excellent. Excellent. So let's break these down a little bit, right? For me, I gravitate, and I'm not trying to pick sides, everyone, but for me, I kind of gravitate more towards this approach and that approach. As much as I loved your effort and what you did. And I just tell you why, because that's so important. This is what we believe in our heart of hearts at Sandler. We have to sound different than our competition. We have to. And just because we went through that exercise thinking you have $1 billion in your bank, why can't you act like that all the time? Again, can't be a jerk, not saying be a jerk. But why can't we challenge our prospects? Why do we have to do exactly what they tell us to do? Right? So I really love that. My favorite sort of reply to that is very similar to what I heard is, you know what, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect? Maybe you shouldn't work with me. Right? And then I'll go into a little bit about how I think we can help solve their pains. But then I'll say something like this. This is the nuance that I like. You probably heard a lot of that before anyways. So instead of me keep telling you about how great we are or how I think we can solve your problems, let me ask you a question if that's okay, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect. Okay, Aaron. What's most important to you when working with a salesperson like me? So that's called reversing. That's the technique we teach at Sandler. It's our #1 way of dealing with prospect resistance, where we respond with a softening statement and go back to them with an open-ended question. Because what's really happening here, and we talked about this, they're hoping we're going to go into presentation mode. They're hoping we're going to do that so they can continue to control the conversation. But by doing what, we can regain control of the conversation. By doing what, everybody? What? It's louder.
Asking a question.
Asking a question. Right? Why do I want to tell him or her about how I think we can solve their problem where that might even be what they want to hear? I want to know what they're thinking about. What's most important to them? And then I can decide whether or not I think we're a fit. Based on that. Because if I don't, and I do what traditional salespeople do, we're going to be stuck in follow-up mode. Because we don't really know what's getting at this prospect. Does that make sense, everyone? Little secret, I don't have $1 billion in my bank account. Okay, anyway, so look, this is like a cheat sheet today. This is a tutorial. This is not easy stuff that we're talking about. It takes a lot of time and practice to do this with your prospects. It's really hard, I can tell you, and I challenge myself every day to challenge my prospects. So Sandler looks at what creates the most successful salespeople. And it's probably not a surprise to you, but there's 3 pillars of this triangle. And Sandler sees that the most successful salespeople don't excel at just one. They excel at all 3. For me, I'm a little bit of a mindset nerd. Like, I love reading about mindset and attitude. To me, that's what I gravitate towards. Some people may gravitate towards more like a technique. Like, how do I make more effective cold calls? How do I do better emailing? But the argument is that you have to be great and strive to be great at all 3. Because if one of these legs is missing, like any triangle, it's going to fall. So I would encourage everybody, when we think about the things that we can do to set ourselves up for success, behavior, setting time blocks for prospecting. We were talking about cold calling, right? Setting time blocks for prospecting, as an example. Attitude, right? I know if I don't get a decent night's sleep, I'm not going to sell as effectively the next day. So I'm going to do whatever I can to try to set myself up for success. I'm going to journal. I journal a lot. I journal in the morning, I journal at night. That helps me a lot with my mindset. Exercise, eating well, all that stuff, that's going to help me be in this business for the long haul. And then technique, we love to do this, right? We're all trying to get better, learn about AI, learn about the tools that we have, and how we can sell more effectively with it. Any questions on the BAT triangle, behavior, attitudes, and techniques?
I think it's empathy because in the borrow, everybody gonna offer the exactly same deal, and then you go straight to like to go with empathy. The people go straight like why you have better than the others is this.
Yeah.
If you have like 1% or something.
Yeah.
Because business is business.
Business is business.
Go straight to they like you, you're nice. You have attitude, and then you offer, go straight or you offer.
Yep.
We do the best, is we do go to straight together.
Excellent.
Like
Excellent. Love that. Any other questions or thoughts on what we call the success triangle? Great. So, we have about 13 minutes left. It's not going to do a lot of justice to this, but I think it's time we get to the crux of our conversation today. So, this is the Sandler selling methodology. And so what we're going to do is we're going to break this down, and Sandler does a good job of doing that by colors. But I'm going to get everyone's attention to look at the light blue, engaging, qualifying, and then closing. So each part of that has a couple different components. So I'm just going to spend a couple minutes touching on each one of them. So I can give you a very high level, 30,000-foot view of what Sandler's all about. So the first part, engaging, building the relationship, starts off with good communication. And when I talk about good communication, when I'm first talking, or more like meeting with a prospect, sure, I can sound like every other salesperson and say, hey, how's the weather? You play golf? Did you watch the game last night? That's one way to connect with people. But guess what? Are other salespeople connecting with them that way? All of them. So what we encourage our students to do is really think about connecting on a much deeper level. And that can happen both personally and professionally. So for instance, if I'm meeting with a prospect, one of my favorite things to ask almost every single time, because I am genuinely curious, is I read up on LinkedIn about your career. Can you tell me a little bit more about your journey for a couple minutes? People love that. They love that. They like talking about themselves, but they also feel like maybe they can impart some knowledge on someone. Without fail, I've done it 100 times, people answer that question. They don't get it. But we could talk about their most recent acquisition, their most recent company filing, something that's happening in their marketplace. There's a whole slew of questions you can ask someone to sound different than typical salespeople. So we want to encourage you to do that because, as Nick loves to say, this personal chemistry, I'm stealing your thunder, this personal chemistry and comfort plays itself throughout this entire process. Because guess what? If you do not have personal chemistry and comfort with your prospect, it's going to make your job so much harder when the rubber meets the road, and that happens in qualifying. If they don't open up to you, we're not going to be able to qualify this prospect. So that's why it's so important. Next, we get into the upfront contract. We talked about this at the outset. We had an upfront contract this morning where I talked about our agenda and outcomes. We do this. I do the exact same thing every single meeting I have with a prospect. Every single one. Because it creates structure for me, number one. Number two, before I took Sandler, I had maybe a very slight agenda, but it wasn't much. And what happened was because I didn't say something as simple as, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, if it's okay with you, I'm going to save 5 minutes before our meeting ends to see if it makes sense for us to talk about next steps. If it does, we'll do that. And if not, no harm, no foul. We'll part ways amicably. But because of that one little move, versus the old me, who the entire time, guess what I'm thinking during that meeting without that? Guess what I'm thinking the entire time? Prospects tell me great information, but I'm not really listening because all I'm thinking about, how do I close this person? How do I get the next step? This removes that because they know it's coming. So I can be in the moment with that prospect, listening, asking great questions, and qualifying effectively. So anyways, that really creates structure for every single one of our interactions with prospects. This is my favorite thing to talk about, and don't really have much time to do it. Pain. Sandler and I, because of Sandler, I will admit, believe that pain is imperative in the buying process. We believe that emotion plays such a role in buying, I don't care what you're selling, that it's almost, if there isn't any pain, it's going to be impossible for you to buy. Now, there is this idea of gain. We agree with that too. But pain is a much stronger emotion. It's almost like when I ask people, would you rather get $100 or would you feel more strongly if you lost $100? I'd rather not lose $100 every single time. So we believe that you have to uncover the reasons for this interaction. If it's a meet and greet and there isn't any pain, then you have to make your own decision about whether or not this is even a prospect you want to spend time with. I know in a lot of businesses we have to do relationship building, and I'm not saying not to do that. But if you want to try to do business sooner rather than later, there has to be pain. Okay? So once we get past pain, and hopefully there is, we're going to keep moving through the qualification process. We want to talk about money. And because of childhood upbringings where it's not polite to talk about money, all the different things that are put into our heads at an early age, it's very hard for salespeople to feel comfortable talking about money. But we have to. We have to know if they have what it takes to invest in what it is that we're doing. If they don't, that's a problem. But guess what? Just because we found pain in investment, it doesn't mean our job is done from the qualifying perspective. In fact, it's really just beginning in a major way. And the thing with qualifying, we talked about this earlier, it's changed so much through the years. What traditionally could have been a one meeting type of situation is turning into potentially multiple meetings with different decision makers. But that's okay as long as we find out the answers that we need. So you have to think about like an investigative journalist. Who is involved? What is the process for approving this? When do you need this done by? How do you go about handling this? And why, in addition to the pain, do you really want to get this done? If we know all that, they tell us about the money they can spend. We're finally, everybody, the moment we've all been waiting for, in a position to do a presentation. So I hate to do this, but I'm going to go back real quick. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way. Shoot, I screwed up. I don't have to go back. Reese, can you help me? I screwed up here. Anyways, think back to I don't even need it. Think back to the buyer-seller dance. Where was the presenter proposed? How early on in the process was that? Very early. What's the problem with that, as we're learning? You don't know anything. Yeah, we had some surface level questions that we asked. We don't know if they're even qualified for us. So that's the Sandler methodology in a very quick synopsis. And that is actually the end of our conversation. I'm glad the slide actually ended, at least where I wanted it to end. Back to our upfront contract, right? So now, this is what I will do in my meetings. They know it's coming because I brought it up and they agreed to it. Number one, lessons learned. What did we learn today, everybody?
Qualify.
Louder, Tina.
Qualify.
Qualify. Qualify hard, yes. Nick, please.
That I'm going to write an article about vibe checking and how
Okay.
Sandler. Thought that was cool.
Good, I love that.
You have to be different.
You have to be different. What else?
Pain sells more than how a product could help them.
Love that. I'm a big fan of pain. Love that. Anything else?
Challenge.
Challenge. Yeah.
Walk around like you have $1 billion.
Yeah. But without being a jerk, that's very important. We can't be a jerk. But yes. Anything
As
else?
sellers, I think we actually know that the standard methodology of like, try to be pushy, try to get it, try to convince I'm the best, is the worst. If you think about yourself when you go to a store and the seller starts like, oh, it's a sale, you're like, oh my gosh, let me leave. When they leave you alone, you're like, I actually want to see more.
It's such a great analogy.
Yeah, so then
Such a great
she started
analogy.
saying like, you don't have to work because there it is. I think if I was the buyer, I would be already like, not interested.
Yes.
Why do you have that people are like,
Yes.
not offering?
I love that. We actually have, I talk about reversing, but we have another tool which is very advanced called negative reversing, which does exactly that. Anyways, great. I love that. Anything else?
Connect to the deep level.
Connect on a deep level. You guys are rock stars, 100%.
Follow up.
Oh, thank goodness you said that. No more follow, just following up. Great. What else?
What did you ask in terms of the follow-up, just on that point? When is enough to follow up?
Oh, this is a good question.
It's a great question. Sandler, so I didn't say this. We have 52 rules. We have 52 rules that we live by. I know them conceptually. I don't know them all by heart. But I will tell you, one of them is, it's over when you say it's over. And what do I mean by that? There's been times in my life where it's happened to me, or I've seen it happen to other people, where they're told they lost the deal. Only for someone, I know this one deal in particular where this person made a lot of money, wrote a very well thought out handwritten letter and walked it to the CEO. The CEO invariably changed their mind and hired this person. Every other salesperson would have been like, God, what could I have done differently? Right? That person said, no, I'm going to do that. Another thing, right? I'm sorry, you're not going to get this business. Great, well, how else can I help you? What other projects might you need my help on? Right, so I'll give you another example. There's one piece of business that I won. I left literally 30 voicemails over a long period of time for someone. People in my office were saying, Aaron, you are nuts. Like, this person's never going to call you back, obviously. I was like, you know what? I know in my heart of hearts, this person is destined to work with me because we have so much in common, so many mutual connections. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it a couple more times. I left one more voicemail. The next day, the president's CFO called me and said, hey, Aaron, I'm returning the voicemail you left for Jim. I almost jumped out of my seat and lost a deal because I was so excited. I almost had a heart attack. I got the business. So I say to you, right, we have to be smart. We can't be stocky, right? But you determine when it's over, not the prospect. Does that answer your question? Great.
Or when you're said about the follow-ups, because I know you said, like, why are you writing without saying follow-up, what's the purpose of this follow-up email?
Yes.
How do you get that message across without saying, like, that? I guess when you write an email or you have a conversation with someone, how do you connect the two to the next?
Yeah.
follow-up?
So, Nick, I wasn't going to close the file, but I think we have to.
Well,
Go ahead, before that.
So, what I love about Sandler is instead of you saying, this is how great I am, and then they go away, you literally have nothing to follow up on because all you did was tell them how great you were, right? But if you qualified them and they told you all their pain points and they told you how it's affecting them emotionally and they told you how they had the effort to invest in it and the money to invest in it, and you knew when the decision was being made, how it was being made, and you knew everything, your follow-up isn't, hey, I'm just checking in, I'm following up. It's, hi, you mentioned these 3 things and how it's affecting you personally, that this was within your budget and you were making this decision then. Is that still the case? Right? So the word follow-up is something they can ignore. One of the other rules in Sandler is like, people can't argue with their own data, right?
Yeah.
So you literally are just giving back to them everything they said, and then the reality is that they ignore you a couple times, then maybe you can use whatever.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. So there's going to be situations, unfortunately, where the prospect's gone completely cold on us. So I'm going to give you a little tactic that we like to do because we do not want to have any ambiguity. And it goes something like this. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, when we last met, you told me, to Nick's point, about your X, Y, and Z concerns. We talked about how this is impacting you and some ideas for us to work together to solve those issues. I've tried you 3 times and haven't heard back. I'm guessing you've decided to go into another direction, and I will therefore close the file. Have a great day. All the best to you. It's amazing how many responses you get from that. Amazing. I would recommend you try to close the file. But you have to do it, like Nick said, right? It has to be a reason for it. It can't just be like, oh, you haven't returned my call. It has to be after a meeting, right? Someone's going dark and you say, I'm going to close the file. We're back to the $1 billion in our bank account. They're not going to walk all over us. You will be shocked at how many responses you get. And most of them are going to be positive. They're going to sound like something like, oh, I've just been so busy. I haven't prioritized this yet. And one time they might come back to you and say, you know what? We've gone in a different direction. We talked about before how no's suck. But sometimes no's are the greatest thing ever because we can stop wasting our time with these dead prospects.
It is a good mentality. Everybody is my client, but they don't know when.
Right, yeah,
So
yeah.
You never stop trying. Maybe not now, but in 2 years, you never know.
You never know. You have a question over there.
Yeah, so what about when you started everything wrong? Like cold calls, and I don't care about I don't care about you qualifying, etc., etc. Is there any comeback to this, or you just go to another direction?
I'm sorry, you're saying they don't respond to us at all?
No, maybe they respond, but like I have this prospect that we are talking about a year. I did my presentation. He said, oh, not now, but maybe next year, etc., etc. But I've never qualified it.
Okay.
Like, so I've done this with a lot of people.
Sure.
I'm a new business. So what about when you do everything wrong in the beginning, but they're still like good matches? Maybe, probably.
Thank you for being candid about that. So I'm going to give you my honest approach to something like that and what I would do. I would do something special. I would give them a bagel delivery. Mm-hmm. I would get them cookies. Mm-hmm. I would drop off an umbrella in a rainy day. I would do something to stick out because when we don't have the pain that we talked about the qualifying, this is a tough one, you have to demonstrate your desire to build a relationship with them. Mm-hmm. So that's my thought. Please.
So I've seen this work. Send them a boxing glove and say you'll knock out the competition. Or send him a shoe and say you may get a foot in the door.
It's time to be creative.
Jordan, so we get a foot in the door.
It's time to be creative. So, and have fun with it. You got nothing to lose. True. Right? And if it's a warm, thoughtful gesture, someone's going to appreciate that. Nick, please.
I think what's interesting about Sandler as a whole is it makes you feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And that's something to keep in mind is like your close percentage is going to go up because you're disqualifying. So you have less people that you're following up with that are never going to buy from you, right? So we're going to feel better from that standpoint. Oh, we qualify a lot more, right? And then the other side that's very interesting is like I feel terrible when I wasted my time with somebody and then they ignore me. You just feel so bad about yourself, right? So if you control the process, you're just going to feel better. So like if you want to feel better, qualify people.
100%. I said I was going to end at 10 o'clock. We already entered Q&A, so I don't want you to think that I didn't end on time. Okay, everybody, I told you I was going to end on time. But we kind of shifted naturally from the end of the presentation. So I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions that you have. I will say, to Nick's point, if you think back to the buyer-seller dance, if you're a salesperson and half of your prospects are in follow-up mode, to Nick's point, how do you get up every single morning excited to go to work? It's hard. And in sales, we have to be so excited to go to work. And that's the type of thing that will just drain you. Make sense? Great. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you. Any questions?
I'll ask one.
Please.
Let's say you both work together,
Yes.
and then he starts conversation with a client, and then somehow you take the lead and you start following up with that client as well. I don't know, he's away or injured, whatever happened. As that happens where I work, I have a small team, small startup, and it's a completely mess. No one is here. So it's like sometimes my supervisor started and then he just leaves, and then he didn't take the lead, follow up, and I go in and I follow up and know nothing about that client. So I'm trying to think, is there any way that you can still keep that conversation, or I should be like, I'm not going to follow up. It's your client. I don't know anything about them. I'll find my own lead. And
I think Nick has an idea.
I got the answer for you. So, Sandler's a communication system, right? So if we all follow the same communication model and everybody was going through and everybody using Sandler, we'd have all the answers. Now, that's not good enough, by the way, right? That's just the start. So I like to say, like, we help people that are frustrated with, like, inconsistent leads, low sales, and no insights into their sales program. So I do a lot of, like, CRM work, like I'm a huge CRM guy. So if you don't have a CRM showing, like, what the issues were, you're going to be lost in the follow-up. If you're not able to see the emails in the transaction, like, it's really hard to do sales if there's no CRM in place, because we're not computers. We can't remember everything. And so the CRMs are nothing more than filing cabinets with forms inside them. So it's literally like your coworker filled out a form, put it in there, that's digitally searchable for everything. And so you'll always know everything about what's happening, and you can build it up. What's the next step? What do we have to do? Where's it at in the pipeline? Like, if the CRM is built properly, there should always be an easy flow for the entire company, especially with on the same sales methodology.
Do you recommend a specific CRM and a specific approach to it, or is that something that you go to the client and they've got their approach and you sort of work your system into their approach?
So I would say I'm not going to give you the right answer. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I love HubSpot.
Yeah.
So that's not the right answer, by the way. That's just a Nick answer.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I like it is because it's the easiest thing for me to coach, train right away, and get people on fast.
Yeah.
And that is, like, not expensive, right? Like, there's so many great CRMs. They're all amazing, and everybody has different purposes for them of what they need. So certain industries have certain types of CRMs they have to use, right? Salesforce is an amazing program. There's nothing wrong with it. But for me, that's the only one that I personally pretty much like work with clients on.
Yeah.
I'll do Salesforce, but it's just not my, like, I can easily do HubSpot real fast.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's not the answer you're probably looking for.
No, well, it is to some degree, because I have seen in a couple cases, people have set up a Salesforce, and what they've done is they've created a system for themselves that's completely overwhelming and has created a bunch of data flows that they don't really understand what's going on. And so it's like, well, you can either fix that problem or maybe not start from scratch again, but if you're lucky enough to be in a position where you're building these systems from the ground up, a simpler solution might be the best solution.
A lot of it is, like, it depends on where you're kind of, like, thinking about sales. Like, I believe there's a big distinction between marketing and sales.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody thinks they want to combine them together these days.
Right.
But to me, marketing is everything you do to generate a lead. A lead is a person or company who shows interest in you. Just interest, right? And they could be liking a LinkedIn post. That's a lead. They showed interest going through them and reaching out, right? Somebody opens an email, that's a lead, right? But then you have to qualify that, right? And then making sure that you just have a system to kind of manage the activities for marketing and the activities for sales, but all towards specific goals. Like, if you don't have, like, what your goals is for how many leads you need and how many things you need to close and your close percentages, it's very hard. But a system like a HubSpot just can give you a dashboard.
Right.
And every week when you have if anybody's an EOS company and you have your L10 meetings, you can easily see everything for your meeting. Or when you have your quarterly meetings, like, you need the CRM to be, like, I like to say that you don't even need sales managers anymore. Like, you need a CRM. The CRM is a sales manager. I started with a company last Friday on a call, and I said, guys, for this meeting, I don't care how you felt about your week, right? Because we finally got the CRM up. I said, we're going to let the data tell you how your week went, right? Like, CRMs and being able to, like, manage teams from data is the most important thing, not how they feel. They did. Sorry to go on my tangent. I just love CRM. I'm presenting too much. I apologize.
That's okay. Any other questions? You're all awesome. So lastly, Nick and I will reach out. If you want to learn more about Sandler, we're happy to tell you. And if not, right, here it is. That's okay. Just tell us. No problem. And then lastly, if there's your company or someone that you know who might benefit from a training like this, let us know. You can tell we love this stuff. So thank you very much, everybody.